Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us for this. What is today? This is the third session of this series with Keokee Contractor Marketing. There's a 5-part series. So if you have missed the first two, those are available. Just reach out to a staff member, either Debbie or I, and we can get you the recordings for those. They are on our YouTube channel, but they are enlisted. Keokee, who's with us here today, is a boutique media and marketing company. They specialize in marketing strategies, branding, websites, digital marketing, and specifically for remodelers and residential builders. They are one of our newest pro members, and they are an accredited pro CEU trainer. So today's course is worth a CEU if you are certified and looking for continuing education credits. They provide classes to trade associations around the country as their outreach and a way to give back to our industry. So we're very thankful for that. They currently work with 3 of our Pro Mid-Atlantic members, Russ Construction, Merrick Design Build, and Spectrum Design. And so if you want more information on their company, I've learned a lot about them through conversations with Addie, Sam, and Keith Vaughn. So just let me know if you'd like me to connect you with one of them. I would like, before we start, to thank, we have a Pro Inc. or our Pro National group has one pro partner, and that is Carlene Jackson. And we are thankful for her and all that she does for our organization. All right. And so without further ado, I am going to welcome Emmett Jones, who is Keokee's one of their digital strategists. That's not so easy for me to say for some reason today, Emmett, but welcome, Emmett. We're glad to have you with us. And you, Emmett, can we just cover a few housekeeping things? In the past 2 webinars, we have had attendees put their questions in the chat throughout the seminar, and then we answer them at the end. Is that how you would like to do it as well?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. All right. Well, Emmett, take it away.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction, Angela. As Angela said, my name is Emmett, and today I'm happy to be talking with you all about how to best optimize for local search. And this is particularly going to involve how to use your Google business profile to stand out and make sure that you're getting great quality leads from within your local area. As Angela mentioned, I am part of Keokee Contractor Marketing, based out of North Idaho, and we are a dedicated team here to support a variety of digital marketing efforts for contractors, builders, remodelers, all the folks who Pro works with. My name is Emmett Jones. I'm not wearing my glasses in this photo, but you can be assured that is me. And I'm happy to talk with you all today about local search and best practices. We do have a couple of those housekeeping details. This is going to be about a 45-minute webinar with 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. And do feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation through chat. Much easier than holding on to them all to the end. We're also going to be sending out a post-webinar survey. My colleague Mitchell is here, and he has the link to that. So once we get to the end, he'll put that in chat. And please do fill that out. We really appreciate the feedback that you all have for us. It makes it easier for us to sort of refine this process and make sure that we're giving you the information that you're really interested in. So that's what I have for housekeeping. Today, my goal is to help you optimize your presence with local search. So what that means is making sure that you show up on the top of a Google search engine results page for your local area, for the areas that you want to serve, and for the areas that you're already serving. The best way to do this is by utilizing your Google business profile. because when we focus on that, it makes it easier for customers to discover your contracting business and become leads and hopefully, sign professional services agreements or whatever method you use. So we're going to start by establishing what search marketing is. So search marketing is, in fact, a lot like real estate. And as in real estate, there are three things which are of the utmost importance when it comes to search marketing. Number one, location. Number two, also location. And number three, believe it or not, is location. If your contracting business is like this house, you might be having some issues. So, as you can see, this is a pretty nice house, but just a terrible location. It's surrounded on three sides by what appears to be a parking garage or something like that. So like this house, you can have a really fantastic business. You can be an excellent kitchen remodeler or a custom home builder or a handyman, whatever your areas of expertise are. However, if you're not showing up in the right place, nobody is going to be interested in you, and they're going to have a much harder time discovering your business and realizing that you're the best fit for them. So our goal with search marketing is to make sure you're showing up in the right location, making sure that you're discoverable. In other words, when somebody goes to Google and types in contractors near me, bathroom remodelers near me, kitchen remodelers, basement finishers, whatever keyword they're using to find somebody to work on their project, we want to make sure that you're showing up at the top of the page in these results. And the top of the page is something we like to call the map pack. And the map pack is not to be confused with these guys, if you'll pardon the little bit of a dated reference there, but the map pack is a term that refers to the first three results that you see on a Google search engine results page or SERP. They usually show up with a little section of Google Maps there, pinpointing where these businesses are located. And as you might imagine, being on the first page of Google is great. Being in the map pack is the optimal placement for local searches. You are the very first business, or one of the very first businesses that somebody sees when they're searching for remodelers near me or any of these other key terms. And so making sure that your business is showing up right at the top is, the best thing to do. It should be your goal in terms of attracting new leads. And the key way to show up on in the map pack is by optimizing your Google business profile. Now, hopefully you all are at least semi-familiar with Google Business Profile. It used to be called Google My Business. So if that rings a bell, it is the same thing. I think Google changed the name this year, maybe about 6 to 8 months ago. But Google Business Profile essentially combines two different services. It is a powerful tool that has elements of both a directory. So going old school again, thinking about the yellow pages or something like that. Your business's name, your location, your opening hours, phone number, all that sort of basic information that somebody's going to need to get in touch with you, as well as, things like service categories. But it also has features of social media. The ability to post updates on your business, the ability to post photos of the work that you've done in particular, and even the ability to engage in messaging with prospective clients. So it combines both of these features. You have Google Business Profile. Gives you a lot of options, both in terms of making sure your information is correct and in terms of showing what you can do to potential customers. And the way it does this is it gives you a lot of different options. On the directory side, it allows you to control and manage your business information. So that's everything from simply updating your hours and saying that you're closed on Christmas to talking about the areas that you serve and the services that you provide to clients. You can also use it to interact with prospective clients. As I mentioned, it has messaging features, which can be a good way to be a sort of first responder and get in touch with folks. You can manage your review reputation. That's one that kind of slides under the directory category. But then on the social media side, you also have the ability to share photos and video content, which is, of course, really important. Leads want to see the work that you can do, and if they're able to see it quickly through something like Google Business Profile, that's a great way to do it. So all in all, you have a lot of different tools at your disposal when you use Google Business Profile. And it's important to make full use of these tools because when it comes to determining where you show up on a search engine results page, Google Business Profile is the single biggest factor in determining your placement. It's not just a major factor, it's the major factor. As you can see by looking at this graph here, about 25% of what Google takes into account when determining your placement comes from signals from your Google Business Profile. Now, of course, there are other factors in determining your placement for local search. Things like who is linking to your website and which websites you're linking to, as well as the content of your website, the photos and videos on your website, your third-party listings, all that sort of information. However, one thing that I'll also note here is the fact that about 15% of Google's equation for determining your placement comes from review signals. And since Google Business Profile has a place for reviews, Google is going to weigh those reviews more heavily than reviews from other sites. You know, it's Google. They're going to prioritize their own content and their own services. So in other words, you could say that about 40% of what determines your placement for local search comes from your Google Business Profile between the content there and the reviews that you're getting. So if you don't prioritize a robust Google Business Profile, you're going to have a really hard time breaking into that first page of results and particularly the map pack. Now, in order to sort of optimize your Google Business Profile, there are 3 factors that should be taken into account, and that's what we're going to go in depth on today. These 3 principles are accuracy, participation, and frequency. Accuracy is probably pretty self-explanatory. You want to make sure your information is correct. Participation and frequency require a little more explanation, but we will get into that over the course of this presentation. One thing to note here is that the size of the gears is actually relevant. Accuracy is probably the most important aspect of a robust Google Business Profile, which makes sense. If your phone number is wrong, if your address is wrong, if you're talking about offering services that you don't actually offer, you're going to have a hard time generating leads and traffic. So you want to make sure that everything is accurate, because it's going to give you the strongest Google Business Profile that you can possibly have. With that in mind, we are going to start by talking about accuracy. And in order to start talking about accuracy, we need to take a nap. It's not going to be quite as comfortable as this guy makes it look, but it is a really important part of this process. You see, N.A.P is an acronym that stands for name, address, and phone number. You want to make sure those are correct on your Google Business Profile. And that's probably a little bit of a duh to all of you. You know, as I mentioned a couple slides ago, getting all of your information correct is essential. But what does it mean to have correct information? Well, it means that you want to have accurate citations across the web. We're not just talking about making sure that your Google Business Profile is correct with your address and phone number and all of that, but that your listings on Facebook or LinkedIn, Houzz, Yelp, other websites are all also correct. You can see some examples here from a client of ours in the Scottsdale, Arizona area. You know, they've got a Facebook, they've got a Houzz account, they've got Yelp, they've got, you know, all of these other online presences. And it's important that their information is correct on all of these sites. because Google's going to go through and cross-check this information with the information in your Google Business Profile. Once they've done that, they can say, okay, this checks out, everything is accurate, and this business appears to be legit. So you want to make sure that you have accurate citations not just on your Google Business Profile, but on all of the sites that you have a presence on. And when I say accurate citations, you want to make sure that they're standardized. So it's important to go through and review all of your listings. Let's look at a quick example here. Let's say we have a business that has a listing on Houzz, a Google Business Profile, and a listing on Yelp. This business, we'll call them Smith Remodeling. Here's their information, and you and I can look at this and say, okay, maybe we're going to pause a little because there's Smith co-remodeling on Houzz and Yelp, but there's Smith Remodeling on Google. But we could look at the address here, see this phone number with the 208 area code, and realize that, this information lines up, and this is probably the same business. So to humanize, same business. When Google looks at these three listings, these are three entirely separate businesses. And that comes down to how these listings are formatted. So, of course, being Smith co-remodeling on Houzz and Smith co-remodeling on Yelp, well, it looks like they're the same, but actually they're not. There's a period after co on Houzz, and there's not a period on Yelp. The same goes to the address. It's 300 East Oak Street, sure, but on Google it's 300 East Oak Street with East abbreviated, and on Yelp it's 300 East Oak Street with Street abbreviated. So Google is going to look at these listings on different sites and say, no, these are three totally separate businesses. All this information here is different. And it's going to make it that much harder to land on that first page of results because Google is convinced that you don't have these other listings and maybe you're not even a legitimate business. So your goal is to make sure that these listings are standardized. And as you can imagine, that can sometimes take a lot of time to go through and find your different listings on these sites and make sure they all line up. Thankfully, there are third-party tools that can make checking these citations easier. And I do recommend using these because you may think of, okay, well, we've got a listing on Facebook and LinkedIn and Houzz. I could find those and update those. But you might also have listings on, a local Chamber of Commerce website, and you might have a listing on yellowpages.com, and you might have a second Facebook account from 2009 that somebody set up and you forgot the password for it, so you had to make a new one. You could use third-party tools to track down all of these different citations and make sure that they're all updated. So things like Moz Local, Whitespark, and Loganics can really help make this process easier. Now, of course, there are going to be some fees involved with these tools, but it is a question of what your time is worth. You could use one of these tools and it will give you a list of, 40 or 50 different websites where you're listed across the web and give you the ability to go in and quickly update your listings on those sites to make sure everything is accurate. So it's a streamlined process that takes 30 minutes as opposed to going through and Googling yourself and trying to track down all of your listings and update them, which can take hours. So here at Keokee, we strongly recommend using these kind of tools to make monitoring your online presence that much easier. Now, of course, in addition to making sure that all of your information, your basic information, is accurate, it's also important to ask yourself how you serve your customers. Hopefully it is not like this fellow from the Twilight Zone, but hopefully you are cognizant of what customers are looking for and what services you want to provide. In other words, you want to think about what you want to advertise. And there's three big questions that play into this. You want to ask yourself, what work do you do? What work do you want to do? And where do you want to do this work? So, for example, let's say that you do bathroom remodeling. you're the bathroom guy. And it's been good, it's steady business, but you're tired of doing these little, $10,000, $15,000 hall bathrooms, and you want to get into kitchen remodeling or whole home remodeling or building additions. So you can use your Google Business Profile to list not just the work that you do, but also the work that you want to do in order to start building a lead base for that. Google gives you the option to list business categories on your profile, and it's important to make sure that these are accurate as well. So if you are a remodeler, you want to talk about the different kinds of remodeling you do. If you build homes or additions, you want to make sure that those categories are listed and not things like installing drywall or water fixtures or painting. You might think, okay, well, yeah, we do that as part of a remodel, and that's true, you probably do. But when you list those categories on your profile, it's a sign to Google that this is like a separate service that you do. So if somebody's looking for somebody to install drywall and not just remodel their kitchen, they might see you come up and give you a call purely to install drywall. So in order to cut down on that, you want to make sure that you're only listing the services that are relevant to you. Thankfully, Google does have some flexibility, and you can list custom services, which is a great way to make sure that you're talking about things that you offer that maybe nobody else does, like custom cabinetry or things like that. Now, another part of making sure your business profile is accurate is making sure your locations are accurate. We talked about this at the very start of this webinar. It comes down to location, 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 particularly when it comes to being on top of local search. And this makes sense. If somebody in Silver Spring is searching for a remodeler and everything on your Google Business Profile talks about Bethesda, they probably aren't even going to see you. Same goes for somebody in DC if you're based out of Bethesda. If you're only talking about your local area and not listing additional service areas, you're going to run into some trouble attracting people from outside of where your business is located. So these service areas can be pretty broad. You could list, for example, DC or Baltimore or Alexandria, and kind of these larger scale areas. We have an example here of a client of ours in the Denver area. And as you can see, they've listed a variety of counties. That's maybe not quite as relevant for you all, simply because, a county in your area, which is more densely populated, might have tons and tons of different urban centers in it. And some of them you want to go to, some of them you don't want to go to. For this client over in the Denver area, it makes sense to list those counties because there might be a major city in that county or a particular development that they're willing to serve. What's the best practice is not just to, select these broad areas or even small areas, it's to list specific neighborhoods. And you can see an example of this on the right-hand side here. So this client of ours is a custom home builder outside of Denver. And so as they talk about what they do, they're listing these specific neighborhoods, Ravenna, Cherry Hills Country Club, Observatory Park, Castle Pines Village, all of these places where they know that their ideal customers are located. So, for example, you can really zoom in and say, for example, you want more business in the DC area, or in DC proper, I should say. You can list, Georgetown and Palisades and Spring Valley on here and say that you do work there, and really zero in on the individual neighborhoods. This is important because not just you want to be accurate in terms of where you serve, but because when people in these neighborhoods are searching for you, Google knows that they're in that neighborhood, provided they have their location services on, and can say, okay, you are in Georgetown. Here's somebody who talks about doing work in Georgetown, or you're in Bethesda, or you're in Chevy Chase, and here's a business that does work in your area. So making sure that your business profile is accurate here is very important as well. Now, you might be wondering, okay, cool, I can think of some areas where I'd maybe like to get business, but how do I know what people are searching for? Well, you could use Google Suggest to get ahead. Because basically you want to be targeting two things. You want to be targeting keywords, and you also want to be targeting locations. And Google Suggest is the best way to get an idea of both the keywords and locations that you should be talking about in your Google business profile. When I say Google Suggest, this is not some kind of fancy new feature. It's just a fun way to refer to literally going to Google and starting to type in remodel or kitchen remodel or something like that and seeing what comes up. So you can see for me, when I did this, I have suggestions like remodel contractors near me, remodel bathroom, remodel contractors Spokane, which is where I'm located, and other keywords along those lines. So these are the most popular searches in your area. It's why Google suggests them to you. So this can give you a good idea of what to talk about in your profile to make sure it's accurate and to deliver some marketing success. Now, in addition to accuracy in terms of the words on your profile, the content there, you also want to make sure you're focusing on photos. And this may sound a little funny, how do photos help ensure accuracy? But we're going to touch on that in just a second here. The important thing to keep in mind with photos is you want a wide spread of them. You want to make sure you have your logo and a cover photo, so similar to social media, some fancy shot of some great work that you all have done, or maybe your team or something like that. You want to have external and internal photos of your business, as well as photos of, your owners, team members, and of course, your work. Now, the reason why it's important to have these sorts of photos and more is because of a little thing called geotagging. You all are probably at least semi-familiar with this, especially if you have a smartphone. But when you take photos, there's usually a tag that's attached to them that says, the photo was taken on this date at this time in this general area. And you can usually go back and look at a map similar to this and see where you've taken photos historically, because they have this string of data called a geotag attached to them. Reason why this is important, especially for local search, is because Google will read these geotags as it looks at your profile. And so if you're talking about serving Bethesda and working in Bethesda, and it's the place to be, and it's where all your services are, and all of your photos come from Arlington, Google's going to say, okay, well, hold on a second here, something's not right. The same goes for, saying that you're located somewhere and all of your photos are from a different location. So you want to make sure that you're taking photos of the work that you do, especially when it's in areas where you want work, and putting them on your profile, as well as uploading these photos of the actual physical location of your business to make sure that Google can see those and go, okay, yeah, this person says they're in Silver Spring, and they actually are in Silver Spring. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what if I don't have location services turned on? Or what if I'm getting photos from a professional photographer, which hopefully you are? How do I make sure those are geotagged with the locations that I serve or want to serve? Well, once again, third-party tools can really help with this. Geotagging is definitely important for location matching, so the simplest step here is just to remember to turn it on. Of course, if you do forget to do that, there are third-party services that can help. You can select a location, and the relevant data will be added to this photo that you've taken. Here at Keokee, we use GeoImager. It does have some costs associated with it, of course, but it depends on sort of the return on investment you get. It allows you to geotag photos and make sure that everything on your profile is accurate. You may be wondering, okay, well, yeah, I can use these to make sure the location is accurate, but, what if I do want business in an area that I don't serve? The same principle applies. You can have photos, even stock photos, run them through a program like this, and say that they were taken somewhere where maybe they weren't taken, but a place where you want business. It's a way to get ahead and show Google that you have photos from an area, even if you really don't. There's a free tip for you from us all. Lastly, the most important thing when it comes to accuracy is just making sure that your profile is 100% complete, or even 110%. If it helps to imagine your gym teacher from middle school or high school looking like this, standing over you and encouraging you to keep going, that's a good way to do it if it helps. But for everybody else, Google does have a setup wizard built into the Google Business Profile that will track your progress. You want to make sure that all of the information is there and is accurate and you're not leaving anything out. Doing that will give you a big bonus in terms of getting to the top of a search engine results page for local search. Information is accurate and it's complete. Two things to aim for. Now, of course, once you've built your profile, you're not done yet. There is this aspect of participation that comes into play. And this is where some of those more social media-like features that we discussed earlier start to appear. So you may be wondering, what does it mean to actively participate on my Google Business Profile? Well, unfortunately, it's not this adorable. Usually it could be a lot of work, but there are four main components of active participation. There are online reviews, there are postings, so again, similar to social media. There are FAQs, and there are messaging, which is one that we touched on earlier. But we're going to start with online reviews simply because they are another big slice of that pie that we talked about back at the start of the presentation. They're a huge factor in determining local placement and making sure that you're getting not just reviews, but good reviews is important to getting yourselves up even higher on a search engine results page. So, you might be wondering, okay, how do I get these reviews? Well, it's important to have a pipeline. And this is a sort of three-stage pipeline. First, it's important to solicit the reviews. You're not going to get reviews unless you actually ask for them. So with this, we recommend setting expectations up front. When you sign a PSA or pre-construction agreement with somebody, let them know that, hey, at the end of this process, we may ask you for a review. And at the end of the process, whatever their project is, remodel, addition, what have you, you actually have to send them the review link. I know it's hard, but it is an important part of this process. Now, in addition to soliciting these reviews, it's important to actually capture them. Not just ask for them, but make sure that they are appearing on your profile. So, in other words, you want to offer incentives. This could be something like a $10 Starbucks gift card. You don't need to go crazy and say 10% off your next remodel or anything like that. But something small and simple is a great way to hook somebody. Also, allegedly, Google frowns upon you offering discounts at your own business as an incentive. So just make sure that whatever you're offering is maybe something from a third party. Of course, you also want to make sure that you're asking the right person. And that's why in the last step, I made sure to say, tell them that you might send them a request for a review. Because you're going to have clients where you don't want them to leave you a review. Maybe they started off good and then they were unreasonable and frustrating to work with. Maybe they changed their mind 10 different times about the tile in their bathroom. I'm sure that you all have had clients who you would prefer not to work with again. Those are not the people you want to ask for a review. Now, once you have the review and it's been posted, you're still not done. There is the step of actually replying to the review, even if it's negative. And this is a great way to establish trust and show engagement. It establishes trust with potential leads because they see that you are responding to reviews and you're grateful for them. you're active on your profile. And it also shows Google that you're actively participating in your profile. It shows engagement with their services, which they love to see. And it's another factor that will drive up your listing on local search. Now, in addition to these reviews, we also have updates, which can take a lot of different forms. Here are sort of the big five that Google offers, although I will say I'm not sure that they're still offering COVID-19 updates as an update. And it's possible that this might not be relevant for you all anymore. So that's one that may or may not come into play when we talk about posting updates. Adding products is probably also not something that you all will end up doing. That's more for, retail storefronts and things like that. What we're looking at, the big meat and potatoes of updates, are these three in the middle: offers, updates themselves, and events. And you can think of these maybe similar to the way that you would think about posting on social media. In fact, that's how we like to describe updates. They're like social media posts, except they have a shelf life. So you post an update and it's going to be gone in 2 weeks, no matter what the update is. So think of that as a quick way to maybe say something like Happy Thanksgiving or 4th of July or Diwali or whatever maybe holiday that you want to make a quick time-sensitive post about. Or, quick updates about maybe members of your team or new projects that you're doing. They're short, they're not going to stick around for very long, and they're a good way, however, to show that you're engaged with your profile. Offers, on the other hand, should be service-specific. So what that means is some sort of short-term offering, like a free consultation on your next kitchen remodel for the next 2 weeks, or a free site visit this month, or give us a call on the 15th and we're offering X, Y, and Z, whatever you want to offer. These offers also have a shelf life, but it's one that you set. You can have, a free consultation for a full year, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. They are these quick service-specific things to talk about, to put out there, and then to end when you're done with them. So unlike updates which have that set life, you can have an offer posted for as long as you like. Lastly, there are events, and these can be, you all are at a trade show next weekend, or you just remodeled a house and you're having an open house for it. You want to make sure that these events have a home on your website, however, and the details aren't just present on your Google Business profile. Partially because it can be hard to add all the details to your Google Business profile, and partially because Google likes it when you have a landing page for them on your website. Events are also kind of time sensitive, but it's for a day or a weekend, a predetermined amount of time that you set for them to appear. So these do feel a lot like social media features. And, you have to sort of stay on top of them as you work on your Google Business profile. We'll talk about how often you need to stay on top of them in the next segment, but it's good to have regular updates on your information and on your offerings to show Google that you are consistently engaged with your profile. Now, in addition to these updates, we also have FAQs. And FAQs are a great way to get your business out there and do two things: pre-qualify leads and potentially show up higher in search results than you normally would. However, the pre-qualify leads is probably the most important aspect of this. You can use these to cut down on future questions and make sure that you're eliminating what we like to call tire kickers. People who are going to fill out your contact form, call you, email you with requests that are just totally not what you do. This isn't a perfect solution. You're still probably going to get people saying, hey, can you remodel my bathroom when you just build additions? Or, hey, can you remodel my kitchen when you just do bathrooms? But having this information present on your Google Business profile is another way to show Google that you're engaged, and another way to hopefully cut down on some of that traffic that is just not relevant to what you do. Now, what should you do with an FAQ? Well, we have some don'ts and we have some do's. So, what you don't want to do is just redirect people to your website. You don't want to answer questions with a response that says, yeah, click here and we'll tell you all about it. You also don't want to turn answers into a sales pitch. Don't, come on too strong and try to sell people when they just want to know whether or not you do bathroom remodels. You also don't want to include contact information. You don't want to say, yeah, I can answer this for you. Just call me. Just email me. The reason for that is because it takes people away from Google, and Google wants people to stay on Google and stay using their services. So you want to make sure that these answers are, as informational as they can be, and don't just tell people to go somewhere else. What you do want to do is make sure to answer questions directly, and make sure to create a list of questions that you get asked and questions that you want to get asked. Now, the reason for this is another little trick that I'll share with you. What you can do is log out of your Google business profile, go to your business on Google as just an individual, and ask all of the questions that you want to be a part of your FAQ. Go in, type them all out, however many it is. We recommend somewhere around 6 to 8, and ask all of them as an individual, not as your business. Then you turn around, you log in as your business, and you answer all the questions that you just asked yourself. That makes sure that you're getting questions that you actually want to get, that are relevant to you, and you're providing the answers that you want to give. So it's a good way to get ahead with FAQs a little bit. Now, the reason why these can help you appear slightly higher in search results is because they will sometimes appear as part of a Google featured snippet. And in addition, you can have content on your website that answers these questions. For example, an FAQ page on your Google business profile and an FAQ page on your website. And that's because when people search questions like this, what is the permitting process for an ADU, aka, like a granny flat or a casita, you might show up as one of these answers. Sometimes these answers are relevant. What is a permitted ADU? Can you build an ADU before the main house? Sometimes they're not relevant. How can I get a learner's permit in Adu? That's probably not what this person is actually asking. But it's a good way to show up closer to the top of Google search results. It is best for companies who are regularly producing content on their website and on their Google business profile, because Google is going to prioritize information that is not just relevant, but recent. Now, the last part of active participation involves messaging. And messaging is a good way to get an edge over your competition, but it can have some downsides too. You can quickly respond to leads when they ask you questions through Messenger on Google Business Profile. You can think of this similar to, Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or any of these other messaging services. You have an inbox on Google Business Profile that stays open, and people can ask you questions through it. Of course, this can lead to unqualified traffic. You can get messages from those quote-unquote tire kickers that we talked about. But for a lot of leads, it's really important that you're the first responder, that you're answering their questions before anybody else and getting back to them, being, polite and courteous. That can be a huge plus, and it can be the deciding factor. If somebody is reaching out to 3 different remodelers and you have messaging turned on and you get back to them quickly, all of a sudden you're in the lead for their project. Now, it's not necessarily going to be this simple, but hopefully it does leave you with a smile on your face when somebody can say, hey, I'm looking for a quote on my remodel. Here's an estimate. Quick, simple, easy. Another good way to pre-qualify leads as well. And that concludes our discussion of the different ways to participate in Google Business Profile. This last bit is focus on how often you should do these different actions. Frequency is a really important aspect of your profile. You want to make sure that you're doing things on a set schedule, but you don't want to be doing things too frequently. Don't be like Bob here. Don't be sending out 3 updates a day and updating your photos every 6 hours or posting new events constantly. You want to make sure that you're sort of doing a steady stream of updates and content to your business profile. It is important to make sure that all of your information is current and that you're making these updates regularly, but you definitely don't want to go overboard. It's important, as I said, to make sure you're doing things nice and steady. So, what does nice and steady look like? Well, it depends on the action itself. We recommend reviewing your citations, your services and locations, as well as your photos and your general profile information about once a quarter. When it comes to online reviews, you should be responding to those essentially daily as they come in. But again, remember to only solicit them as necessary. Don't just ask willy-nilly for reviews. Make sure that you're asking the right customers. When it comes to posting, it kind of depends on the specific sort of post. You want to be checking for customer posts about every week because customers can post photos to your Google Business profile. You also want to be posting updates about every 2 weeks, since that's their shelf life, and maybe offer events or offers about once a quarter. You don't want to be too frequent with those. When it comes to FAQs, you want to check customer posts weekly and respond, quickly to them. When it comes to messaging, check those every day, respond every day. Of course, with some exceptions. Hopefully, none of your clients expect you to be messaging them on Christmas or Sunday or whenever. And when it comes to reporting, you want to review your insights about every month. So reporting is one we haven't talked about yet, but Google loves their insights and they love their metrics. So they give you the power to sort of track the customers who are coming by your business profile and see how exactly they got to you. As you can see in this example chart, most customers found this business through discovery. And what that means is they searched for a category, a product, or a service that you offer. So in other words, they searched for kitchen remodeling and you all came up and they discovered you that way. That's typically going to be your most popular category of discovery unless you have a ton of brand recognition and name recognition in your area. In which case you might see a little bit more direct traffic. So people who found you by specifically searching for your business name or your address. Lastly, and probably also least when it comes to contractors, remodelers, etc., people can find you by searching for a brand related to your business. So that might happen sometime if you have a partnership with a particular brand of cabinets or appliances, tile, something like that, and you talk about it on your website. People might find you that way, but it's probably not going to be the main way that people find you. So it's worth talking about those things, but it shouldn't necessarily be a focus of your profile. And with that, we are coming to the end of today's webinar. I do have some takeaways for you all to consider. If you take nothing else from this webinar, please take these. Local search is the best way to reach leads. Google Business Profile has a huge impact on local search. And with Google Business Profile, you get out of it what you put into it. So in other words, if you want to dominate local search and show up at the top of a search engine results page on Google, focus on your business profile, make sure it's complete and accurate. Third-party tools can help you get an edge with making sure that your profile is as robust as it can be, but most importantly, your content, both on your website and your profile, needs to be both relevant and actionable. It needs to call people to fill out your form or give you a call, and it needs to, be focused on the services that you offer. So if you want to make sure your online presence is optimized, we do offer a free citation analysis. I think my colleague Mitchell just posted that in chat. Thank you, Mitchell. You can see where you're listed, track your information, identify new directories to be on, and more. So you can click on that link in chat and check it out. We'd be happy to help you. And that brings me to questions. I know we finished a little over time, and I apologize for that, but I'm excited to see what questions have come in.
I do not see any in the chat just yet. Let's see, we have one here. Lee or Madison, Portia, Eric, anybody have a question? You're on mute if you are. Having one. All right, looks like Eric does.
I do not have a question, but I just want to say thank you and sorry that I was late. This is really great information. Something I've been thinking about for a while, so I'm sure I'll probably generate more questions as I think about it at night. and then
Send them to
reach
us.
out from there. But really appreciate the presentation.
Thank you so much for attending. Okay, we have a PO box. So what if we have a PO box and not a street address? I don't know if I missed that in the presentation. I apologize if I did, but how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Google actually gives you the ability to not publicly list your address. You have the option to essentially fill it out and say where you are, but then hide that information from the public. And this can be useful. I know I have some clients who not just have PO boxes, but their office is their home or something like that. And so you don't want people just showing up at your house hoping to walk in for an appointment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's where the kind of service area stuff that we talked about earlier comes in. So even if you don't want to publicly list your address, you could instead list the areas that you serve, which will give Google an idea of where you do business, because normally they do look at where your offices, quote unquote, are, and put that into account.
Okay, right. So that answers the question, how do we rank in areas outside of our office locations? So that makes sense to put in.
Yeah, that's part of it, but there's also, focusing on the copy and content of your website and Google Business Profile and saying that you serve areas, as well as, having photos from those areas, even if it's one you kind of have to fudge with a third-party tool.
I have a question about what about other search engines? I know that people mostly use Google, but if someone is using Yahoo or Bing or something, like how does that work?
Yeah, that's an important question. So Google Business Profile is shockingly just for Google. But I will say that I think the most recent pie chart of search engines by traffic, and I'm just double checking this right now. Google is, it's over 80% of the search market share. It absolutely dominates, and it's true that there, maybe some people using Bing or something like that, but the majority of your clients are going to be using Google. So I would say,
I mean, I prefer it. The reason I ask is because my search engine was set up on Yahoo, and I've noticed that when I search things, it's a completely different. It comes up completely differently. Like when I search our own company, and I'll actually have to put in google.com and then search it on Google. So I was just curious, but that makes sense. I mean, I prefer Google myself, but.
Yeah, for sure. As far as I know, there's not a Yahoo business profile the same way that Google has theirs. But if a feature like that exists, then it's worth focusing on. And I would say that probably the same tactics that we talk about here are relevant there too.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
Oh, I don't think so. Are you done, Madison?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I know it's hard on Zoom. Like who's saying what? Go ahead, Portia.
We have a clever yet difficult name to market with. It's counterculture. So yes, it's clever because of course we do countertops, but on the other hand, it's a phrase. There's a coffee shop, people who some coffee shops in counterculture. there's actually a counterculture countertop place in a different state, but I've just found it's such a general phrase. There's something I can do to, I mean, obviously frequency, everything you talked about today, but is there any other way I can grab people and drag them towards countertops rather than, some like beatnik poem plays?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that that's where optimizing, your services and making sure that everything on your profile talks about countertops, and also zeroing in on content on your website and making sure that that's also focused on countertops is important. And I have a client who's kind of similar to this. They started as just a home improvement general handyman kind of worker, but now they do like really high end remodels. However, their name, their website, and everything still has home improvement in the title.
Right.
And we found that rather than trying to fight that, because that would require them to get a new website and a new logo and rebrand themselves, which is an option, but it's one that takes a lot of time and money. We just focus so much on talking about the services that they offer, and making sure that it's when we talk about their business, it's not give us a call for your home improvement needs, but give us a call for your remodeling needs. So what you might want to do with something like counterculture is get your countertops from counterculture, or even though it's a little bit of a mouthful, counterculture countertops.
Right. Yeah, certainly. And maybe attach it also to like our locations. We have 3 different locations. Counterculture, but maybe that'll help it come up too with our little city names attached to it. I don't know.
That will help, and it will probably cut down on you all getting traffic from people who are looking for counterculture somewhere else.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that is a hard one because of the bigger like social
right
factors.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I guess last thing I'll say is just keep in mind that when people are searching for you locally, they're more likely to see you than somebody searching for counterculture on the West Coast or something.
Right. Okay, good.
All right. Any other questions? We're almost at 1:30. I don't want to keep you past the time, but
I have another question.
No problem.
And it's about rebranding. So I came into a company that rebranded before I got here, but it was kind of halfway done from like a digital perspective. So I've kind of been trying to clean all of that up, but I didn't realize until you said today, like all these extra accounts that are all probably on old emails that I don't have access to. Like, is that something that you guys help with, where you could do an evaluation? Is that part of what that service is that you're offering?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's definitely part of the citation analysis that we talked about. And, as a marketing agency, we're also more than equipped as professionals to tackle that sort of thing too.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess we can talk about that more in a session. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that's what I was getting into if I talked to you more.
Yeah, absolutely. You can,
Okay, great.
yeah, fill that out and always reach out too.